Yo, 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 hello, Internet, and welcome to the Secret Crisis Podcast, the latest nerdy podcast to cruise through the multiverse and right onto your listening device. It's your boy, Chris Markland, but they call me Superfly.
And I'm Jaiden Jones.
And today we're going to be talking once again about the spectacular, the amazing, the ultimate Spider-Man. This time, well, again, we're talking about the Tom Holland Spider-Man, but this time we're talking about a movie that has yet to come out, which is the recently titled Spider-Man No Way Home, the third installment of the Tom Holland trilogy that I have been notably lukewarm about. And the reason why we're talking about this today is that there seems to be a lot of conjecture surrounding this movie so far. Like, at the time of this recording, the first trailer hasn't even dropped yet, and we're already getting so much speculation, so much fan rumors, so much like gobbledygook already being thrown into the melting pot. And I think that today would be a good day to just not only wad through all of the rumors and decipher what is actually confirmed and what isn't, but also to give our thoughts on where the movie might be going and the Spider-Man MCU experience overall. So, yeah, Jaiden, you've been hearing a lot of rumors about the Spider-Man, this new Spider-Man movie. How much of it, like, if you had to boil it down to a percentage, how much of it do you think is true and how much do you think is false?
I think I would say what has more merit. I think about, I'd say 40, maybe 45, 40% of it has merit, and then the rest of it is probably just like rumors, people just going off of the rails of what you would like. Yeah, and then the stuff that's more the garbage would probably, I would say, it would be more of in the Spider-Verse type, what people would like. And I know that there's some other stuff, and we'll probably get into it. But that's more in that area, and the stuff that has more merit is like what, in terms of what we know is coming, and what's like the storylines that we know is in the source material, and some of the other stuff like Doctor Strange and some other stuff that we know about that. So what is more likely? So that's what I know, and then the rest would probably just be gobbledygook.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I would definitely agree with you on that. Like, I think that this is, I like to call it WandaVision syndrome, where like we, the fan community, like to over speculate, build up everything based on like the most ridiculous, like smallest sliver of information. Fans like to take it to the nth degree. Like, I will bring up this one instance that I came across this morning where this guy legit took, for the Far From Home promotional material where they finally revealed what the title was. It was basically revealed in a skit with Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Jacob Batalon, who plays Ned. And they revealed the title on a whiteboard, which was Spider-Man No Way Home. But it was surrounded by all of these other like smaller words that like some of which are legible, some of which aren't, which has prompted the Spider-Man fandom community to analyze the crap out of it. Analyze the crap out of this whiteboard. So anyway, I came across this Instagram post this morning where someone legit took the outline of just a random outline from the whiteboard that was drawn on it around the Spider-Man logo. And it said, that outline kind of looks like the island of Puerto Rico. And you know who else is from Puerto Rico? Miles Morales. Miles Morales is Spider-Man 3 confirmed. I'm like, oh!
Oh my
god! I've never seen such a leap in my life. Holy.
Oh my god.
This man got Evel Knievel looking at him being like, damn.
Like, my gosh.
This is the level of fan speculation we have come to. It's hilarious and also kind of like sad,
Yeah, like that's I remember what was the last one where they did it with the last movie as well. Like, it just practically every movie, man, always jump in like worlds. the fan theories jump in worlds to come to their conclusions. Like, what in the world? Oh my gosh!
And the funny part is, Marvel stays trolling their fans. They stay troll like it's almost like that SpongeBob meme of like the fish going, "How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?" Like, bro, we went through the exact same thing with Spider-Man Far From Home when all the trailers hinted toward the multiverse and that Mysterio was from like another universe and that was going to kick off the Spider-Verse and everyone was losing their crap. Being like, oh my gosh, multiverse confirmed. We're getting multiversal Spider-Man. And then we get to the movie and it's just a trick. It's smoke and mirrors, like completely pull the rug out from under you, completely like just like just like tease the multiverse and no, it was all a trick. And then we get to WandaVision, which I don't think before WandaVision came out, I don't think anybody was expecting any sort of real multiverse tease aside from the fact that Scarlet Witch was in it and we know she's going to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But aside from that, there wasn't much conjecture about like how this would feed into the whole multiverse theory until good old Evan Peters showed up as your boy Quicksilver. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, multiverse confirmed. They're crossing over with X-Men. We're doing it. It's happening. It's happening. Red alert, guys. And like, I must admit, I did fall into this trap. I really did. Like, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
True.
And sure enough, what happened in episode 9?
And the result turns out to be a dummy or a fake.
Not only a dummy, a legit, like, the most lowbrow dick joke I have ever seen in my life. Guy's name is Ralph Boner.
Yeah.
Marvel legit pulled a sight. That's the wrong number. Like, I don't know how many times fans have to learn this lesson about like the over speculation, the over analytics. Like, sometimes I just miss the days where like we could just like watch a movie and just enjoy it and just like be able to be surprised, legitimately surprised when something happens.
Yeah, I do value the I do love like the analytical, like kind of like the geek culture. Like I think that is a good thing, and that's something at least historically that has been very unique about comic book culture for a long time. But this type of and especially like because of like the social media and platforms like YouTube and whatnot, like that type of like you said, the over analyzing in little things. And actually, it's not even this has happened in Dragon Ball fandoms. Oh my gosh, like little things, just little things. Oh my gosh, the aura of this character means we got a new transformation. Ah! oh my gosh, y'all need to chill. Like, just chill, relax. The clickbaity the clickbaity channels, like, oh my gosh.
And like, it's almost like fans are setting themselves up for failure in that way, because now when Spider-Man No Way Home comes out, and it could be the best Spider-Man movie we have ever seen, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. But there's a good chance that it could be the best Spider-Man movie that we've ever seen, could completely pay homage to the Spider-Man iconography that the comic book fans have come to know, while also paving the way for a bold new direction. Like, it could do everything right. But if Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and like don't end up not showing up, like legit half of the fan base community is just gonna be like, oh, what a wasted opportunity. Marvel cock teasing us again. It's like, bro, like
yeah. Really, half of that hype was just manufactured, like self-manufactured, guys. Like, relax.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. So what I have here is an article from Hello Magazine, which came out like I want to say 6 days ago, which is basically Spider-Man No Way Home, everything we know so far. So I'm gonna go over the headlines, and we're going to like decipher what we know and what is actually more just conjecture. So first thing we know is, when is Spider-Man No Way Home to be released? December 17th, 2021. Seems pretty straightforward. What will Spider-Man No Way Home be about? There is plenty of speculation about what to. This is the article. There's plenty of speculation about what to expect from the third film of the series, but the cast has been tight-lipped about what to expect. The president of the MCU, Kevin Feige, has previously opened out about how the final moments of the second film, where Peter's secret identity is leaked into the world, will play a major part into the third movie. Now, this is both a relief and a bit of a concern for me, because on one hand, I have very mixed feelings on Spider-Man Far From Home. I thought it was a good movie to watch, but I hate to use this overused quote from High Tops Films, the YouTube channel, which y'all should definitely check out because I love his video essays. But he said it best. It was a good movie, but it wasn't a good Spider-Man movie. And I completely agree with that. I think that, like, Tom Holland, fantastic actor. You will never catch me denying that. But the writing for his movies has criminally underserved him. And especially with the ending of Homecoming ending with Aunt May finding out, and then only to go to the next movie, completely threw that out the window. No, no consequences for that cliffhanger. Nothing to worry about.
Man wasn't even grounded, for goodness sakes. Jeez.
Wasn't even. Like, we didn't even get to see a conversation. But that's an old wound that is not healed over, but but and then we go to the ending of Far From Home, where Peter Parker's identity has been outed to the world, where, like, he's, like, basically left on this cliffhanger of, like, oh no, what's he gonna do? And, like, in the back of my mind, I'm just remembering that cliffhanger they left us on in Homecoming, being like, man, there's a good chance that they could just, like, completely explain it away in, like, 5 minutes. Like, just get Nick Fury to hire a Skrull and pretend to be him, and that's that. But and I don't even necessarily want them to go in that direction, because the period in time when Peter Parker's identity was out in the open was one of the worst periods in the character's history, that eventually resulted in One More Day, him having to make a deal with the devil Mephisto to get his memory, to get, like, all of the world to forget his secret identity and to save his aunt's life. So I by no means want this to happen. But if this is the direction that the movie is going in, I'm at least happy that they're going to be paying it off. At least I hope, in a semi-satisfying way. It's not just a hand-wavy, toss it out the window. So, yeah. So he also told Fandango that people know Peter's identity. He's just continuing. So let's move on. Who will be the cast of No Way Home? Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Jacob Batalon will be returning as Peter, MJ, and Ned, which I'm happy about. The film will also welcome back Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus, which was officially confirmed a while ago, who originally appeared as Dr. Octopus in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, directed by Sam Raimi.
So this is where we get into the territory of what I meant of the things that have more merit. Oh Lord, not to say I have anything against the actor or anything, but why? Like, I don't understand. Like, okay, if they're gonna, because they already came out before, from what I understand, and said this is like they're not gonna be doing the whole crossover Spider-Verse situation. That wasn't like a thing that was going to happen. And then, but they cast this brother, the same brother. Like, what are y'all trying to do? Like, it just, I don't know. It just makes me think. I don't.
Exactly. Like, the entire, like, every decision that Marvel has made so far with the Tom Holland Spider-Man, having him be Tony Stark's latest pet project, having him use Stark tech in all of his movies, having him be so tied and married to Tony Stark, narratively speaking, all of that was to differentiate, for him to differentiate from the other Spider-Man films, that was Marvel's way of being like, the other Spider-Man films are their own thing. We know you don't want to see another Peter Parker origin story. We know you don't want to see Uncle Ben die a third time. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go in a completely different direction, throw everything they did out the window, and completely do something completely new. We're not going to use any villains. that have been shown in previous Spider-Man films, at least in the first two. We're not going to reference anything that happened in those films, and then that's that. We're just going to do... And then now all of a sudden in this one, they're going to be like, oh yeah, we're bringing Alfred Molina back. He's going to be Doc Ock again. It's like, what? Like, I will give you J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson at the end of Far From Home, because there are some roles that are so iconic that no matter who you recast in that role, people are going to be disappointed that it's not J.K. Simmons. So I will give you that. I will let it slide. But the fact that they're dipping back into this well and be like, hey, let's bring back this guy back, and this guy back, and this guy back, it's like...
It's not smart. Not smart. I don't get why we're going backwards in this particular direction. It's not smart. It's not a smart move at all.
Yep. And it goes on to say that this is where Jamie Foxx, who, if you don't know, was Electro in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I'm pretty lukewarm on that film as well. I don't think it's as bad or deserves as much hate as people give it. I found it semi-enjoyable, but it does fail on a lot of levels that are beyond basically everyone who worked on that movie, beyond their control. Like, from everything that I've read, all the research that I've done on that movie, it basically seems that like Sony just like completely like crapped the bed and just like wanted to cram everything but the kitchen sink into this movie. Why does that sound familiar? I don't know if this is foreboding or like or like ominous foreshadowing or what, but yeah, the guy who played Electro in that movie, Jamie Foxx, who they really did the brother dirty in that movie. He was so like, you get Jamie Foxx, one of the greatest actors of our generation, Django Unchained Jamie Foxx, like renowned artist Jamie Foxx. He was in Annie. And then you bring him into your Spider-Man movie, and you have him basically play Edward Nygma in Batman Forever. Just like, I'm a nerd. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man. But oh no, he forgot to save me one time, or he didn't remember my birthday. So now I'm a villain. Now it's just like, completely the most campy modern day, one of the most campy modern day supervillains I've ever seen in a movie, and they're bringing him back.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, they didn't. I mean, I've had a very interesting, in terms of how I view the other movies. I have a very different perspective now. At least I'm a lot more like, when you go into it like more sober minded. Like, it's like when you watch something when you were younger and you were naive. But then now I'm like, I'm going into it and I'm actually paying attention. Like I have nothing against Jamie Foxx, and I did think like the Electro, it was such a, it was like, what, like, well, that's, he didn't save you that one time, really, bro? Like, that's, oh my gosh.
But like, the only reason I'm excited about this is because I'm excited for my man Jamie Foxx to get another crack at it. Maybe if they completely rewrite his character from the ground up and act like that movie did not happen, I think it's a good choice. However, like, the other reason why I'm excited is because every scene that Jamie Foxx as Electro was in after he became Electro, after he got his powers, was decent. Like, he was menacing. He was like, he had a cool like aesthetic. Like, the way that they displayed his powers was really cool. But like, it was just everything before that was just like complete cringe, to the point where like when he did become menacing and like a viable threat, it felt like a complete heel turn, because it's like you took this character's personality and completely shifted it into something different. So why even make him nerdy like that in the first place? It was like just a very odd choice to me that like did not hold much merit. But he's back along with Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. And
I don't know why. I would have preferred them not dip back into that hole and just gone and like get new actors, go like Like I don't know why they decided to go down that route again. It's like just like because it's confusing. Not only is it confusing, but it has baggage, and it's like okay, this is a new Spider-Man. Just let's start new, go fresh. Again, nothing against the actors. It's not about them. It's about well, it's supposed to be about the source material, but like it's about the actual the story of Spider-Man. So like start fresh. It's just Tom Holland without my gripes about it. This is something supposed to be something new. So going back and dipping back into that hole is it's very confusing, and it can get convoluted in at least in the audience minds if you're necessarily the normies. That I guess
The other person that has been confirmed for this movie is Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch, the gentleman who plays Doctor Strange, who will reportedly be acting as Peter Parker's new mentor.
That's news.
Yeah. Based on this article and based on things that I've read in other places, that he's going to be Peter Parker's new mentor. And when I read that, I wanted to go outside, find the nearest telephone pole, and bang my head against it until because oh my gosh, why can Peter Parker not go one movie without what do I do, Mr. Stark? What do I do? I gotta impress Mr. Stark. What do I do, Happy Hogan? What do I do? I don't know what to do. Happy Hogan, tell me what to do. Tell me where to go. What do I do, Mr. Strange? What do I do? Tell me what to do. Tell me where to go. It's like, no. That is not who Spider-Man is. That is not who Peter Parker is. If you want to go into the Ultimate Universe, Ultimate Spider-Man, that was kind of who he was. But even still, he was not. There was a whole arc where he teamed up with the street level characters, including Doctor Strange, Matt Murdock, Iron Fist, Moon Knight, all those guys. And like, he pretty much hated all of them because he felt like they were just talking down to him just because he was younger. And that like these are all a bunch of like yahoos in like these weird costumes who you could like probably beat in like 5 seconds. So he's like, I don't need these guys. Like I don't need and like he doesn't trust them. That's the thing about Spider-Man. Like he doesn't trust people. He doesn't trust other superheroes. At least not at first. Like it drives me insane how interwoven this version of Spider-Man is with the rest of the MCU to the point where in the Endgame final battle, to the point where at the end of the final battle in Endgame, what's the first thing this guy does? Take his mask off. When he meets the Guardians, what's the first thing he does? Takes his mask off. It's like, dude, you don't know these people. What are you doing?
Like Barry, bro. Like just taking it off whenever. Just has no problem just taking it off, bro. Like.
You know, I'm glad you brought up Barry Allen because it's the exact problem I and a lot of other people who watch the CW Flash show have with it, especially now that it's been going on for 7 years now and we're getting 7 seasons of the same thing. It's like, how are we getting all these seasons of Barry not being able to do stuff on his own, constantly having to have his team, like a team of 7 people who all know his secret identity, talking in his ear, telling him where to go, telling him what to do. It's like, dude, you're the Flash, bro. Like if you read the Flash comics, that was never how it was. Like every single Flash story, maybe he had Iris helping him out with her like reporting and whatnot. He would have like a speedster team up every now and then with like Kid Flash or like Jay Garrick or like Max Mercury or like what have you. But like he never had this whole peanut gallery of people that were just telling him what to do. And it's the same thing with Spider-Man. It's like he teams up with characters. Yes. There was a whole Marvel comic called Marvel 2-in-1. No, not 2-in-1. Marvel Team Up, where that was literally Spider-Man teaming up with a different character every week. But it was never, hey, I'm teaming up with this guy because really I'm hoping he could be a new father figure to replace Uncle Ben. No, he was teaming up with them out of necessity to get the job done. Like,
yeah, it's kind of it's really weird. This, and I mean, the problem with the type of replacing father figures and strong male figures in my life. Problem with the CW version of Barry Allen is that's a different. We can go on whole episode on that. But like this problem that I have with like, and I like Doctor Strange. Actually, I like in terms of like they got who the character actually is, and I don't like have any problems with him, the character itself. That's not my problem. But like this who this character is that is supposed to be Spider-Man. It's constantly looking up or having to fill this gap because that's oh my gosh, because it's essentially it's the same problem. It's suffering. It's just a symptom of the same problem of not having Uncle Ben. They never did that. They don't. It just proves the point that there is no Uncle Ben that has been established in this version of Spider-Man, of quote unquote Spider-Man, which was the fundamental premise that made up his character. But we still are trying to, in order to, for whatever reason, having to look to all these other characters. Again, nothing on them necessarily, but it's just, gosh.
And when we say that like they'd never done a viable version of Uncle Ben in this version, I feel like you and I, we in no way mean that they have to do the death of Uncle Ben again, that we have to start from the ground up with an origin story. Absolutely not. I don't want to see that. Y'all don't want to see that. I don't think anyone wants to see that a third time. But to have it, there are ways that you could include this integral part of who Spider-Man is into his mythos without showing it all over again. Into the Spider-Verse did it perfectly. It established Peter Parker's backstory in under a minute. You know who Peter Parker is, where he came from, why he does what he does, and the movie's able to go from a breakneck speed from there. The same thing with the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series, one of the goated animated series of all time. If you have not seen Spectacular Spider-Man, I cannot recommend it enough. For me, it is the definitive interpretation of Spider-Man. In that, we get to see the impact that Uncle Ben's legacy leaves on Peter without necessarily having to start with Peter Parker, awkward kid, meets a girl, goes to the lab, gets bit by a spider, and becomes a Spider-Man. Hey! It's like, we don't need to do that whole thing. But like, it's just, yeah. And like now, with introducing Doctor Strange into it, like having these Spider-Man alumni villains come back, like the Dr. Octopus and the Electro. And then we get to the final fact that has in this article that has been confirmed. Andrew Garfield, the man, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man we've ever had, has confirmed, well, not necessarily confirmed, I guess, if you want to go by fanboy logic, but he has reportedly denied being in the film. Like when he was interviewed on a podcast, basically what he said was, I did not get a call. I would think that by this point I would have gotten a call, but I did not get a call. So straight from the horse's mouth, straight from the man with
again confusing.
Confusing.
Why? See, this is why having Jamie Foxx do in this is like, oh my god.
It's like, of course, fans are gonna think that when you have like Jamie Foxx's Electro, who was in the same movie that Andrew Garfield was in, and Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus coming in, who was in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man films. It makes sense why fans would speculate. But to get to this point, we're like, fans are legit like, I legit see people like swear up and down that Andrew Garfield is lying. Like, they're like, oh, Marvel paid him to say that. Yeah. We see right through you, Andrew Garfield. It's like
Marvel ain't that. They're not that well.
I mean, they are
marketing. Like they are not like they would not go to that level. Like
I wouldn't necessarily put it past them to pay Andrew Garfield to say that. But at the same time, I feel like for him to say such a definitive statement as, I am not in this movie, I have not received a call. Like for him to say something that definitive, if they were to like pull a full on like bait and switch and say, haha, I was in the movie the whole time, gotcha, I would be very surprised.
Yeah, that oh Lord of mercy.
I mean, like anything is possible, but I
Mhm.
personally would not bet my bottom dollar on it. But
Mhm.
yeah, just all of this, like all of these like different ingredients that have been thrown into the mix already, the past villains, the Doctor Strange, the multiverse teases, like this all just feels to me like everything that has taken place, that has conspired since Spider-Man joined the MCU and since he started getting his own solo movies within the MCU. This is Sony, Disney, Kevin Feige, whoever is making these decisions going like, yeah, we don't trust Spider-Man by himself. Yeah, Spider-Man's great. Like he's got a good shtick. The whole like swinging webs, the whole like wall crawling and all that. But we don't trust him. We don't think he can handle the movie by himself. You know, even though he's this iconic character who has like definitively been Marvel's cash cow for the last like however many 70 decades. But like, oh no, we can't trust him with his own movie. So you know what he needs? He needs a Tony Stark father figure to give him Stark tech and like an AI called Karen and Edith that like talks in his ear and like tells him what to do and where to go and gives him heads up displays and like because that's what the kiddies like. They like Iron Man. They like Iron Man. They like Tony Stark. They like Robert Downey Jr.
Iron Boy that swings up and down across New York. That's what they really like.
Exactly. Like, you know what we need? You know what the kiddies really like? They like Iron Man villains too. They liked Obadiah Stane. They liked Whiplash. They liked what we did to the Mandarin. Everybody was a total fan of that, right? When we completely bait and switched them and like whitewashed the Mandarin, they completely loved that. So we know we need more Iron Man villains. Let's make every Spider-Man villain who has been defined as a specific person who has a problem with Spider-Man in the comics for the last several decades. Let's take every single Spider-Man villain that he ever fights in his movies and have them somehow be tied to Tony Stark. You know?
Vulture being some weird guy with a, I mean, yeah, he had a vendetta, but like, dude, like, I wanted to, like, that was, gosh, that's not who Vulture was. Like,
I actually did like what they did with the Vulture. I will defend the Vulture just because Michael Keaton was such a fantastic actor, and I did find that angle that they used of the Vulture, that he's this man who was basically like screwed over by this company that basically forced him to like feed on like their table scraps, metaphorically speaking, like a vulture. Like I thought that was kind of clever. I will defend not the Mandarin. I will defend the Vulture. But once you got to Far From Home, and it turned out that what's his name, Quentin Beck, was just another disgruntled Stark employee. At that point, I'm like, dude, no, stop.
Yeah, he's just Iron Boy. He's not. This is what I meant. Where my even view of like this MCU Spider-Man is like been. I've gotten a lot different. Like this isn't like the version. This is not. This is just Iron Boy. Like that's not. This isn't Spider-Man to me. It's because again, not only is the fundamental premise gone, isn't present. This this constant in terms of the villains, weird bait and switches. Like okay, you wanted to have Quentin like you just mysterious. Like you could. It's not hard in order to like do justice to different characters of the source material. It's really not that hard, and I don't understand why they have this. Well, I mean, yeah, this obsession with having to revolve Spider-Man, mold him around the person of Tony Stark. It's just so weird.
Yeah. It's like one of those things that I feel like has worked to like the deficit of the Spider-Man films, and especially like going on now with like I don't know. I'm gonna be straight up. I don't know if this film is going to dip into the multiverse. I don't know. Doctor Strange is in it, so that's a major like eyebrow raiser for me, especially since his next film is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and also we know that his sequel, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Scarlet Witch, who has come into prominence with WandaVision, is going to be a key supporting character in that movie. So we know that it's going to. What do we know about this movie? That it has to somehow involve the multiverse because multiverse is in the name. So if Marvel pulls another bait and switch that, oh no, we didn't mean the multiverse. We meant the multiverse is just the what we call the IHOP across the street. Like that's just gonna be ridiculous. But like we know that it has to somehow involve the multiverse. So the fact that the through line between these three properties, the WandaVision, the Spider-Man No Way Home, the Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange is the key component to all of these. So they have to in some way be connected. So it would make sense to me that we are somehow getting the multiverse in this movie. However, for them to completely hijack this Spider-Man movie, to which already has one unresolved cliffhanger in his identity getting released to the public, if they were to do that, I think that would be the dumbest idea in history. Which brings us to we've already been diving into it. The fan rumors that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to be in it. I'm gonna be straight up. I don't want to anywhere near this movie. I don't want them anywhere near this movie. I don't want to see them in this movie. I think it would be a mistake to introduce the Spider-Verse this early. I don't want them in this movie. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I don't like it. Don't like the idea of having it in this movie. I know I had said before, my position before, especially at the last episode that we did on this, was that I wasn't against it completely, and I just don't want it in this movie. I think that, and it was that I would have been okay with it maybe in a fourth movie, or I don't know if they even do a fifth movie of some sort like down the line, but not so soon, because like you had mentioned before, the cliffhanger, it ended on his identity, all surrounding that. Like that is a critical storyline. Like they need to resolve that, and it needs to be done justice. It can't just be hand wavy done within the half hour. Like that needs to play out, and both in the personal and public life appropriately. So now, yeah, I'm totally against it. I'm not about it. I don't like the idea of them. To be honest, I don't think that it's effective in this version of Spider-Man. It's just not. Nah, I don't want to say it at all. Like, to be honest, I think it's just they have a lot more other problems. They're trying to bite off too much they can chew. They need to do an actual faithful like Spider-Man storyline before I even consider doing something of having we're just gonna get Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, the whole gang up in here, and how many other of the other Spider-Men.
And even beyond that, there's also been rumors that Emma Stone, who was Gwen Stacy in The Amazing Spider-Man, she's going to be in this movie, even though, like, in the last couple of days, she has completely denied that she is in it. Kirsten Dunst is supposedly in this movie, according to baseless fan speculation, even though she said nothing on the topic. Like, there's all this, like, I do not understand why people want this. Like, I mean, I understand why people want this, but I just, like, even if they were ever to do Spider-Verse in the future, I don't know if we ever need to see Spider-Verse in live action, because no matter how you try to do it, no matter what crazy multiversal shenanigans you try to do, you're never going to be as good as the cartoon. You're never going to be as good as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's just a undisputable fact. There's nothing you could do in live action that would ever in any way be even close to the achievement of what Into the Spider-Verse was. In my opinion, that was the perfect execution of a multiversal plot, of a superhero legacy plot, of a, like, hey, let's introduce all these different versions of the character who essentially have the same power, but, like, they're all united under the same roof, so they're technically derivative. But at the same time, they're not, because they all have their own distinct style and fighting experience and whatever. Like, you will never do better than that. That's a fact, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have any desire to see the, like, I don't necessarily have any problem with some of them, some other ones, but like I just don't like seeing the I don't want to necessarily see this in live action. I have no desire to see that. I don't necessarily. They need to hunker down and get back to the source material and focus on that and actually do faithful adaptations to and like to try to do some damage control. We already established that fundamentally we've already jump ship. We're already off track right out the get go. But we need to try to, if they want to improve, they need to start steering that in the right direction and actually do the one more day. If they're going to do that and incorporate that within this movie, they need to do that justice, man, and actually do it appropriately. Yep.
God, I hope they're not doing one more day, because to say to do one more day justice is kind of an oxymoron.
Yeah,
because it's one of the most
he's not married
Spider-Man.
yet. That's also true. So yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah. Then let me phrase that. Like, if they're doing the plot line of resolving that, obviously, like this goes back to it fundamentally. We don't have MJ. We don't, and we don't have Mary Jane. We don't have Uncle Ben. We don't have the like he's not married. So and Aunt May isn't dead. Like, so you want to do something.
And especially with this version of Spider-Man, if Aunt May were to get shot, I don't think it would have anywhere near
any
the
emotional
impact
nothing
as it could have.
No, I would literally.
Like, I could see this version of Peter Parker getting over it.
Yeah, like I'm like, a couple of tears. Like,
yeah, you are gonna lose a few,
happy. I'm so sad. A couple of ice cream. Here's some ice cream. Pat on the back. You're Spider-Man. Yeah, he just decides to. Happy will just pat him on the back, and he just go about the rest of the movie, and he swinging and slinging all around New York, and fight the bad guy. Like, that's, oh my gosh, it's not gonna. I wouldn't feel anything. I don't like. No, this isn't like, again. When we talk about this is not. This is not Spider-Man in to me. This isn't Spider-Man, and this version of Spider-Man, and the more I think about it, then the more annoyed I get that that it's basically Spider-Man in name only. There's some elements, yeah, sure, but like, I'm excited. I love Spider-Man, but to me, this is not. No.
Yeah, you know where, like, I didn't feel that way though, in Captain America: Civil War, when Spider-Man was first introduced. In my opinion, Tom Holland's Spider-Man has never gotten better than he was in that movie. Like, that was 100% the most faithful adaptation of Spider-Man that I feel, or the most, like, respectful to the source material, taking what was good from it while also doing something new with it. I feel like Civil War was the best that we've seen in live action thus far. Because, like, you got the basic Cliff's Notes version of the origin without saying Uncle Ben. Like, you got the inflections that you're supposed to get from his origin story and his upbringing. You got, like, the basic elements of, like, who he is, where he's supposed to be, like, who he's supposed to be, like, how he does what he does, and, like, the jokes that he was telling in that. Like, he was also a lot more, like, flippant and, like, wisecracking in that one, which I appreciated. Like, he actually told actual one-liners that were good, instead of just, like, what they would have him do in Homecoming and Far From Home, which is just, I'm just word vomiting at you, and I'm just, like, talking a lot to make it seem like I know what I'm doing when I really don't, which, like, that is an Ultimate Spider-Man thing, but at the same time, like,
Yeah, this isn't the, like, oh gosh. Yeah, that, like, I would agree, like, the with the Civil War, yeah, like, that was probably the, like, that version of Spider-Man, but within that movie was probably the one I would actually be comfortable with saying it was actually a decent version. Like you said, like, this quippy type version of Spider-Man, well, the confidence, while still somewhat being, you could say, confidence in his own ability, is not, like, that doesn't really exist in this solo movies. in this actual run. It's just like that's a departure from. It's like, well, who is this? Who is this guy? Like, we did not get that type of quippy, from comedic nature of Spider-Man in these renditions.
Mm-hmm. So now for this portion of the show, what I would like to do is I have quite a few theories of my own crafted around this Spider-Man 3 film that I would like to run by you, some of which are based in reality and some of which are not. So this first one is the most obvious, the one that everyone knows, the one that everyone's talking about, the very real possibility that we could be seeing some semblance of a One More Day storyline. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the infamous Spider-Man story, One More Day, is basically the story that takes place immediately after the Civil War event, where Peter Parker, siding with Iron Man, he chooses to take off his mask and out his secret identity to the world, and in doing so puts a target on the back of all of his family and loved ones, including Aunt May, who is shot by one of the Kingpin's gunmen. So she's dying in the hospital, and Peter is completely racked with guilt and grief because he feels that, like, it's his responsibility, which it is, and that it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't have revealed the secret identity in the first place, which it wouldn't have. So what he does is he goes to every character in the Marvel universe who, like, is vaguely aware of death, who, like, has any magic practicing skills whatsoever. Like, he goes to Doctor Strange, he goes to Jean Grey, who I think like he goes to like all the like cosmic area, like Brother Voodoo, Dr. Druid. He goes to the Fantastic Four. I think he goes to them. Like, he goes to everybody he knows. Like, he even when he goes to Doctor Strange uses a spell that allows him to go up to heaven and talk to God himself. To ask him to bring his aunt back from the dead. And God himself tells him, she's old, man. She's going to die. I'm sorry. Like, it happens. Get over it. And still he's like, nope, can't have it. So he's visited by Mephisto, who in the Marvel universe is the living embodiment of the devil. Yeah, basically gives him and his wife at the time, Mary Jane, a deal that I can reverse time and make it so that your aunt lives, but you'll have to give up your marriage. And all of this, you might be thinking to yourself hearing this, if you haven't read the story, that, wow, this is such a weird, so unlike Spider-Man. Like, this is such a weird, out-of-place storyline to do with this poor kid from Queens who punches bad guys and tells quippy jokes. Like, it seems like such an odd storyline to do. It is because it was all an editorial mandate, because they didn't want to write about Peter and Mary Jane's marriage. That's the only reason this entire storyline happened. Because for some reason, the Marvel writers have this weird fascination with Peter Parker being a hip, young, single guy who's able to talk to all the ladies without looking like a complete jerk. Like, like, they want him to be able to flirt with Black Cat. They want him to be able to have sexual tension with whatever interchangeable new female character they want to introduce.
Yep.
So they wanted to get rid of the marriage. So they concocted this ridiculous, this completely asinine story just to justify Peter getting rid of the marriage. So Peter takes the deal. His and Mary Jane's marriage gets unmade, and then that's that. Why do we think that this could be an element in Spider-Man No Way Home? Because a lot of the elements in Spider-Man One More Day are elements in this movie. Peter Parker's identity is out in the public. That's bound to have unforeseen consequences on his friends and loved ones. Doctor Strange is in this movie. We know that Doctor Strange has some sort of connection to the Multiverse of Madness. We also know that Sony and Disney are having a bit of a rocky relationship. Like, we also know that, like, it's basically the movie equivalent of a child custody battle. Like, when two parents are getting divorced and they can't, like, stay in the room together for more than 5 seconds, and like, they're just like constantly trying to like one up each other and act like one's better than the other, when all the child wants is just for both of their parents to get back together and to be in a stable household. But like, But we know that these two major movie studios, one of which is semi-competent and one of which isn't, I will not name names, Sony, but like we know that they probably are not going to play ball. So there's a good chance. We also know that this is the last film in Tom Holland's movie contract as Spider-Man for the MCU. This is the last film in his contract.
Oh, okay.
Contracts can get renewed. It happens all the time. But we know this is the last one on his contract. So we could be witnessing Sony and Disney's last-ditch attempt to divorce themselves from each other's studio and divorce Spider-Man from the MCU. This could be their way of saying, oh, Peter Parker's identity is out in the public. What are we going to do? Oh, Doctor Strange comes in. Peter, I know this one powerful spell that can erase the memories of everyone on Earth of your secret identity and put the genie back in the bottle. But I can only do it if I put you in a new universe where nobody knows who you are, that is identical to everything that you know immediately. So all your supporting cast will be the same. So you still have MJ, you still have Ned, you still have Aunt May, you still have whoever. But all of the MCU affiliated characters are gone.
That would be horrible. Disgusting.
It would be awful. I
It'd
would
be
walk out
even
of the
worse
theater.
Yeah, that would be horrible. Oh my gosh.
The absolute worst.
It would essentially, see, to me, that would be like just the equivalent of that would be the same thing for me of Disney or whoever, Sony or whatever, deciding, okay, them seeing the problem, oh well, that this version of Spider-Man, quote unquote Spider-Man, Peter Parker, is just it's not working. We have all these problems, so we're going to use this one more day story to rectify and just put it under the rug, and it's not a problem. Oh, don't worry, guys.
Who cares?
Back on track. Well, back on track.
We'll get over it.
Yeah. That. My gosh, just bail out their not man. It's just their own bailout there within the narrative. Just
above all else, it would be lazy. That's the problem. You're not doing it to tell new and interesting stories with Spider-Man. You're not doing it because you think that you could add something to the mythos. You're not doing it because you want to tell an impactful Spider-Man story that resonates with your audience. You're doing it because you have an editorially mandated agenda that you want to push through. That's the problem. And if you think that theory is bad, I have more.
Okay.
So this is a theory that I completely thought of myself, which is only operating on the baseless assumption that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield do somehow appear in this movie. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that the rumors are true, that Marvel pulled off the impossible. They got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back. Let's say that's an element. What if, instead of being a multiverse movie, we're getting a Clone Saga movie?
Oh my god.
Again, for those of you who don't know, the Clone Saga is an almost equally reviled Spider-Man story from the mid to late 90s at, again, a point in time where they wanted to get rid of the Spider-Man marriage. They didn't want to tell these stories about Peter Parker being saddled to this wet blanket of a wife, Mary Jane, who's completely cramping his style so he can't get laid by Black Cat or whoever. It's like, we need to get rid of her somehow. So instead of using magic and devils and like identity reveals, instead they decided to go the other extreme, faux science, by using clones. There was a story in the 1970s where Peter was cloned by this character called the Jackal, who is this ridiculous character who you will never see in a movie, who basically takes Peter Parker's DNA and makes a complete and perfect copy of him in every way, a clone, if you will, who dies, quote unquote, at the end of that story, and Peter Parker throws him into a fire and like forgets about him. Come to find out in the Clone Saga, that clone survived and has been living traveling the countryside as a man named Ben Reilly, who is Peter Parker's perfect clone in every way, but chooses not to get involved in Peter's life because he doesn't want to ruin his life, because he has the Peter Parker moral center or whatever. It's this completely ridiculously nonsensical story that just gets more and more convoluted the more and more it goes along. And basically, it ends, or well, part of it ends with Peter Parker having a complete mental breakdown and hitting his wife, because like all of this like nonsense is happening and it's driving him insane. So he just like goes completely off the rails. So like he gets to the point where he's just like, you know what, Ben Reilly, clone, I can't handle being Spider-Man anymore. Why don't you be Spider-Man? Because you're young and hip and single, and you're basically the same version of me in every way, except like fans haven't been following me for the last like 15 years, but you're basically the same as me in every way, except you're not saddled with this ball and chain over here, Mary Jane, who was ruining all my stories, even though she wasn't, because fans really liked that relationship. But yeah, you're young and hip and single, and you can have all these swinging adventures, and you can do all this stuff. Like, we don't need you. I'll just go away and move to Portland, Oregon, and then you can be Spider-Man and carry on in my place. So what if Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire being cast in this movie, supposedly, is just Marvel making a tongue-in-cheek, gotcha, you thought we were doing the multiverse, but instead we're doing the Clone Saga. Like, that could, what if?
What if? Oh, Lord. That would, I wouldn't, actually, sadly, I'm gonna have to say I can actually see them doing that. Oh my gosh.
I don't know which I would hate more.
That is so dumb. Can't believe that.
That sucks so much. It's so bad.
Like, come on now. Like, see, this is the. I'm not gonna go down rabbit hole of all my problems with this version of Spider-Man, and rehash some of the things I've already stated. But this is,
we have a whole episode on that, which you should totally check out. Our reviews of Spider-Man: Homecoming, Far From Home, and all the movies before that. So
yeah, this this version, this is the problem with it, where we get into. They're trying to do all these big, uber big storylines when we haven't gotten like base level, like just ground level stuff. Like you're trying to do swinging up in ships in the sky when we haven't even gotten like Spider-Man just fighting bank robbers, like just base level. Like, jeez, man,
we got one of that in Homecoming.
Just one, but that's one scene of him doing that. Like, come on, this is that's what I'm talking about. This is not Spider-Man, man. This is some other guy, in the suit calling himself Spider-Man, in Spider-Man and name only to me. Like, I just. I got nothing on Tom Holland. It's not on Tom Holland. It's nothing
for real though. Like, he has so much potential. He could be the best of them.
Yeah, I have no problem. It's nothing to do with. Often, whenever I have a problem, it's nothing to do with the actors. It's the matter. The question is, are you the character? If not, okay. Like, that's like I don't like. And this version, how we're going forward, whether it be not having we still haven't seen all of the Sinister Six. We never got to see, they teased that at the end of we got to see Rhino at the end of Amazing Spider-Man.
that was the most hilarious thing, where like that one unseen dude was like walking through the hallway, and like you see like the Vulture's wings and like Dr. Octopus's arms and like the Rhino suit, and it's like, oh, look at all these things that we're carrying off, and then nope. Universe completely shut down by that one movie. That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, like that's where we get into this problem, and I know, yeah, it's just I'm really it annoys me the more I think about. Just it's really not that hard to have to just incorporate good do faithful adaptations of the source material. It's really not that difficult. Whether we I've wanted to see um um uh, uh, if you this version, I'm talking about MCU Spider-Man, I'm not talking about the rest of them. The previous versions, whether it be Doc Hawk, Green Goblin, the Craven the Hunter, the I don't know what's his name, Shocker and Electro. Is it
We did
Electro
see
Shock?
Shocker,
Shock.
Electro.
Yeah, no, Electro, but like I mean like the guy with the fists, like
No, we saw Shocker. He was
yeah.
in Homecoming, but I would like to
Okay.
see him again.
Yeah, like and I mean I wanted to actually see a not the mechanical version. I wanted to see an actual real vulture. But like I didn't like that aspect. But the other like like you go down the list and then Rhino, an actual Rhino, like
I
my
will say
god.
Rhino's one of the lamer ones. Like in most of the versions, he's just a guy who's stuck in a suit, and it's like, how do you go to the bathroom?
Like he true like I'm not saying he's the most interesting. I'm just talking about even just getting if you want to talk about a huge big Spider-Man type showdown is a showdown with the Sinister Six. Like that is like they are like that team. Like we have not gotten a important and high tense dynamic between Spider-Man and its villains. That is the whole point of the
Yeah,
Sinister
yeah.
Six. That when they come together, they basically could almost kill him very pretty much. The whole point of him every time that he fights them is that he actually survives is that he plays off of their egos. When they get cocky, that's their problem.
He
And they're
pits
not
them
a
against
team.
each other.
Yeah, they're not a team. That's that's not no. They just decide, we better get the spider together. It's like, wait, no, I want the spider. I want to kill him. Like that's their problem, and that's what that's really what plays off of him. And we haven't gotten that. If we were to get a Sinister Six goofy versions of them,
It
like
would
it
be
would
lame.
be, yeah, it'd be lame. I'm like, who are these people? Like it'd just be a couple of guys. It's as if like you would just make up new characters, put them together, a new roster of a gang and whatnot, and then they're trying to kill the spider with different types of versions, some of them animal versions and whatnot, trying to kill Spider-Man. And it's just like I won't feel anything about that. It's like
Exactly. Like I am baffled that we have yet to be paid off by that end credit scene in Homecoming. And another end credit scene in Homecoming that has never paid off, where the Vulture is in prison and he's met by the Scorpion, who's like, "Hey, I hear you know who the Spider is. Why don't you tell me who he is?"
yeah.
And it's like we never nothing. Like
I
we know
forgot about that. Yeah, the
Like
Scorpion. I
we know,
forgot
we
about
saw
that.
Michael Keaton in the Morbius trailer, which makes me think maybe there's some kind of connection there, but who knows at this point? Like, and it also doesn't help that Sony, in their complete infinite dumbassery, is instead of like trying to like introduce more Spider-Man villains into the MCU organically, they're like, you know what? These villains need their own movies. Let's make a Venom movie, which a
Yeah,
lot of people like that Venom movie. I will admit that.
I
I
haven't
didn't think it
watched
would
that
work.
yet, but I don't think it's good. I don't know, that's from what I've heard. I don't think
I
it's good.
refuse to watch it out of principle, but a lot of people have liked it. I will admit that. I didn't think it would work, but supposedly it did, which I guess it does make sense because Venom has had his own solo series for a couple of years. Like he was the
Yeah,
lethal protector. So
yeah,
like,
Agent Venom. But that's different. Like that's with Agent Venom. That's far different from what the version we're talking. We're talking
well,
about
yeah, but
like
also
Venom out
Eddie.
the get go.
Well, yeah, but also Eddie Brock had his own solo series for a while back in the 90s when they were. It was like the first time they tried making Venom an anti-hero, where it was basically like Eddie Brock, like he was underground and he met this like bunch of homeless people. Like there was this whole. You basically find out there's this whole underground society. I forget if he was in like San Francisco or like where he was, but like you find out there's this whole underground society that's like these like basically subterranean dwellers who like need a lethal protector, and like that's who Venom wants to be because he wants to atone his sins for that accursed Spider-Man. Is a weird series that like
But
a lot of
even with that, that's so even with that, like we're talking about Venom at the get-go. Venom at the get-go is like a Spider-Man thing. Like the whole thing
yes.
that's right after that. That is like the whole aspect of him being a villain with Eddie Brock, and then having Spider-Man getting the symbiote and all that aspect like that. Like as we first saw in the Tobey Maguire, like that sort of aspect, like that was an original thing. So even if y'all are jumping the get-go, oh, we're trying to do the Agent Venom, I was like, what are you talking about? Like that's not where the storyline starts. Oh, we want to adapt the source material. Whoa.
What source material?
Yeah, like we haven't
And now
gotten
you're
to
trying to do
stage one.
Carnage?
See, like I heard about that. I'm like, wait, dude, it's like base level. We have not done step one. Where is actual Venom, the symbiotes actually like part of oh my god, it hurts my head to just like, oh my gosh, like, okay, say if they wanted to actually, I don't think that they. Again, I haven't watched the Venom movie. I will watch it because I'm curious on what, like, why people like it so much. But so some people like it. But if they wanted to introduce Venom into the storyline, if you want to canonize that version and bring it in, or just even the symbiotes, unless you want to make another version altogether, I wish.
Like even still, it's too late now because it's like Peter Parker and Eddie. There's no reason why this Eddie Brock, who was a grown man in that movie, would have a problem with Peter Parker.
True, yeah, like it would be weird. Yeah, that you're right, and yeah, they see we go back to the problem. We haven't even had Eddie. We haven't met Eddie Brock, man. Like that's where we get the problem. So like I what I meant about like introducing, if you wanted to introduce, I'm just talking about like introducing the concept of the symbiote. If you wanted to do that, this is not how I would do it. I would scrap the whole thing and start from the base level, because again, it's a fundamental problem. But if you wanted to try to move in that direction to have that, I would try to do the similar thing. Like it would be through the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. If I know the new one, or if they make another one, where it's similar to what the cartoon did, where with the symbiotes being like the symbiote planet and having that whole aspect and whatnot, and I don't know what you would look at. And I mean, Thanos, obviously he's not in that, but like you wouldn't include him because I mean he's gone, dead now. But like if you were to do that, I don't like what the whole storyline happens. For whatever reason, maybe they come back to Earth, a symbiote just hitches a ride on the planet, on the ship. They come back to Earth, or if like he hitches rides in the engine or something, come back to Earth, and then it escapes back in their system, and that's at least how you seed that there is a symbiote at least on the planet or something like that. Like at least that's what I would try to do, to at least introduce that, to try to say, oh, it didn't just come out of nowhere. That's what I would think of doing. But that's what do you think about that?
There's a lot of different ways that you could rectify it, but the problem is I don't think they're gonna do that. They're gonna be willing to like put their hat in their hand and say like, hey, we kind of messed up with like introducing Eddie Brock like this, so like, we kind of want to have that Spider-Man Venom synergy, so we might have to like they're not gonna do that. I can't see them. I can't see Sony getting their heads out of their ass for 1 second and not long enough to do that. So it's like, and they're doubling down on it. They're doubling down on the fact that we need to get all these Spider-Man villains their own movies. Let's have a Kraven the Hunter movie starring Quicksilver. So you know that there's no possible way that it could ever be in the MCU.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Hold up. What do you mean starring Quicksilver? What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. That was a news story that dropped maybe a week or so ago, that Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron, has been cast as Kraven in
As Kraven?
Yep.
Are you insane? Like, this is so weird, man. What is wrong with these people? That
I
is
don't know.
honestly crazy. Craven, why? Oh my god, dipping your toes back in. You mean the same quick? We're talking about the Queen, same Quicksilver that died like, well, mm, I won't say it.
The same.
Y'all already know what I was about to say. But like, come on, man. Like, hey, why are we gonna see his face? Like, I don't understand. Like, you would be best getting a brother like Carl Urban to actually do that, man. Like,
Yeah, Carl
I
Urban,
just,
Keanu Reeves. I mean, not like people were even
Keanu
talking about Brad Pitt. I would not be. I would not necessarily be opposed. He would not be my first pick, but I wouldn't be opposed.
yeah, it wouldn't be that's maybe it's not too bad in terms of the physical stature, but I would probably go with Carl Urban. I probably my
Yeah,
first
same.
one to in
But
terms
even
of like
Carl Urban has been in the MCU before. He was Scourge.
oh yeah man it's so yeah that's true.
But
Um,
still, like, there's no way that this can be in the MCU now. Like, they're gonna try and do their own thing of like, it's a Craven movie, but we're not gonna have any reference to Spider-Man. It's like, dude, what? No.
That's
Like,
you're trying to create. See, this isn't. See, this is one thing. If they're gonna now we go back to how we're gonna if we're going to do the version of the multiverse. Hear how they try to make this villain is has their they exist in their own universe and each of movies exist in their own separate universe and then and the multiverse of madness and whatever down the line then we introduce the multiverse and that's how these villains get on to Earth 1 and this the main Earth and in our universe and haha now we have the sinister face.
yeah, I hate that. I really hate that whole inclination to do that. Like, it's the same with the DCEU right now. When oh, we have a universe for the main DCEU with like the Zack Snyder universe and like all that, but we also have the Batman, but that's being directed by Matt Reeves. That is completely its own thing with its own like villains, and then we have the Joker movie starring Joaquin Phoenix, which is also its own thing. But none of these things are interconnected whatsoever. It's like, dude, what's the why? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like they have no plan, and they're trying to cover that up by being like, yep, multiverse snort. It's like no, like you don't,
it's
like,
lazy.
Multiverse is what you do when you have an actual story you want to tell with the multiverse, not just to cover your tracks of laziness and to be like, you see, you thought that our movies made no sense, but actually they do because blah, 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 so checkmate, fanboys. No.
Yeah, see, that's and I know we've talked about this before. This is my thing. I've and the more I think about it, more I'm more ponder on this and just the reality. I dislike the idea and the of multiverses. I don't like it in terms of having that initially. Oh, it seems like a cool concept, but actually, no, I don't think so. I think it actually the it incentivizes and actually allows for laziness because that's what they're doing. You're just using it. Oh well, it's a separate universe, so we're gonna justify goofy stuff. Like that's no, like it's it having again. I have no problem with having different dimensions. Okay, sure, but it's still like want to have like it's still within the same universe, and still there is some sense of continuity. There is a sense of that the character is this there is one that they're the same that there's not this all these different types of stuff that you need to justify you to do the goofy stuff but just say oh well it's a different universe so that's why we can do that like no the whole point of having what like at least for me why I love Marvel and DC was the expansive universe that of the villains, the characters, the lore, the beings that were in the universe. But you just we're just gonna create we're just gonna have this movie and just have it be there. Oh, we're doing a different universe. It's like then what's the point? This like literally what happens in that movie has no meaning. Like it has nothing. You can whatever you can do this storyline, and whatever comes of it, it's like, okay, this was somewhat nice. You can't say, okay, this was nice, but in the grand scheme of things, I can't really care because that's all it is. It has no meaning. It has no connection to anything. It does nothing in the grand scheme of things, and I can't get emotionally invested in that. In general. So yeah, that's
Yeah, and like that's nothing to speak to the merit of standalone movies. Like I'm sure that Joker is a fine film. Like it won an Oscar. So what the hell do I know? But as terms of me as a comic book fan, in terms of what I like about the Joker, in terms of the role that I think the Joker should play in a cinematic universe, the fact that he should be in one, that's not what I think that it's a complete I think that it's a complete misuse, and like it's almost like you're taking advantage of the Joker IP because you looked at that and you said, "Hey, we know that the Joker is the most popular supervillain of all time. We know that like him and Batman have this like ongoing like cat and mouse game, but like, what if we took the Joker, changed his name, changed his look, changed the time period where he lives in, changed his entire development, changed literally everything about him from the ground up, basically write an entirely new character, and then still call it Joker?" It's like, that's not the Joker. That's Arthur Fleck. It's like, but he's the Joker though. It's like, no, he's not.
He's not.
Like, and then they have the audacity to introduce Bruce Wayne in that movie, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's Bruce Wayne." It's like, no, he's not. That's some random rich kid who Joaquin Phoenix's Joker made his parents die. That's not Batman. It's like, no, it's Batman though. It's like,
yeah. It's just who you call him. It's just the guy that you call. And I haven't watched this movie, but you just call it's this character in name only. This isn't who the character is in reality.
exactly. And not to say that characters have to be a direct one-to-one from the comics. Like you could absolutely make like certain changes here and there. But when you change everything about them, when you change everything about not only their look, but the contents of the character, who they are, their origins, like everything, it's like, then you might as well make something new. You might as well like something else. And like, if that's that, then do that. If that's your prerogative, then do that. But like,
don't call it this is the character. Like it's just not unless it's laziness. That I have a whole problem with Marvel and DC of just not being able to make new characters because they're just lazy. Like a lot of these people, they just can't. At least to me, I think they're just creatively bankrupt and don't know how to actually to at least instead of operating within the confines of what the source material is laid out. I mean, yeah, you can make certain changes to a certain degree, but that doesn't mean that you change everything about the character. And like what you're saying, like that's like, well, Joker does not like the idea of having a Joker movie is weird to me. Like I don't see not only that I did not see the need of it, but I don't understand like. Joker is an antagonist. He does not have like that like a whole point of saying well-rounded. If you're going to do a Joker movie, he's not supposed to be sympathetic.
He's not. You're not supposed to feel bad for him.
Yeah, and now they make him some weird
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Yeah, no, you idiot. Like, no, you're an evil dog. Like that's that's
not to say that the Joker can't have nuance, at least to some degree, that he can't like his origin story. Like he's just some working schlub who fell into a vat of acid that drove him crazy.
Sure. Okay.
That's like the fundamental element of who the Joker is. He sees himself as a victim of circumstance. He sees himself as a person who was wronged by society or whatever, but he's not. Because if you take anyone else and put them in the situation where he was put in, 9 times out of 10 they will be fine. That is the entire point of the Alan Moore's The Killing Joke. That is the entire point of Batman and Joker's decades-long feud. Like that is the entire point of the Joker's character, and they just completely missed the mark on that by being like, "Oh, but society made me this way." No,
you idiot! Like, you can give me a break. Like, oh my gosh, a character that is not supposed to be sympathetic at all, and this is just overall, and like I am not. Gosh, man, I don't understand. Like, why? It just frustrates me the more I'm thinking about it. Why you can't just do a good adaptation of the source material? Like it's your, you are. It's possible. It is possible because you have done it, but it's for some strange reason. Well, actually, multiple reasons, but like for in this context, for some strange reason, you feel some weird need to every type of to make a villain. Like I'm not gonna go down to rabbit hole, but something like this. Like I don't. I think that Marvel and DC, a lot of these people, these writers, they don't understand heroism and the roles that villains and heroes, the dynamic that they have with each other. Because if that was the case, you would not be making a Joker movie, because it inherently within that he is an antagonist. He's
yeah,
not supposed
I
to
mean,
have a
like,
movie.
I will say that a Joker movie in conception, I feel like it could work, but only if it's told through his perspective as a villain. So you see his fight with Batman through his perspective, like the Batman, the Brave and the Bold animated series did this
Oh
perfectly
yeah.
with. Yeah, they did an episode where that was like completely from the Joker's perspective, where like he's made out to the audience to be the hero, but he's an unreliable narrator.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at everything that he does, you know that he's a villain. But
Yeah.
that's besides the point. This is a Spider-Man podcast, which I feel like this conversation has reached its logical conclusion. So personally, I'm looking forward to the No Way Home trailer and to eventually see this movie, just so I can see how many fan theories are actually right and how many are actually wrong. Like, I'm gonna be. This is gonna be a grand old time. I can't wait to see the fanboys creaming, like chomping at the bit, like rioting in the streets when they find out that Andrew and Toby aren't in this movie. I can't wait to see the day where like we see all these social media meltdowns, all these like fanboys figuring out that their theories are a moot point. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I am. I'm not looking forward to the movie because I don't think, for the reasons that I mentioned, I don't like this direction. But I am, I guess you could say, looking forward to how the normies will react to how this trailer comes up in the conclusion, and at least what we can take from the trailer, because we already know from the last movie that trailers don't exactly mean much. They can say very different things. So yeah, it was. That's something I'm looking. That's really my thoughts on it, and hopefully, you know what? Hopefully I'm wrong, and they actually start going in a different direction, and then they start doing things right. But I doubt it, man.
Remains to be seen. Well, that concludes this episode of the Secret Crisis podcast. If you are new here, if you like what we had to say, if you liked our personalities, be sure to follow us on all socials. You can find me at I am Superfly on Instagram. That's Superfly with an A. That's IAMSUPAFLY. And you can also newly find me on TikTok at Superfly Comics. That's comics with an X. That's Superfly SUPAFLY Comics COMIX. Jaiden, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Jaiden.cjones. That is the letter C Jones, Jaiden.cjones. And you can follow the podcast Instagram profile at secret_crisis, secret_crisis. And you can find the podcast on everywhere virtually you get your podcasts. On YouTube, it's the Secret Crisis Podcast, and subscribe and check out the episodes, and subscribe, comment, put that push that notification, so you can actually get it directly. And and also this is the last thing that I'm actually curious. I don't know what you think about Christian, but they on Anchor they have a option on, if you go to, and this will be linked in the description of this episode. If you they have an option of sending voice messages you can submit them on the Anchor website, and I would actually be curious on who are the people that are actually listening, whether it be across the world or actually here. So I'm curious myself. I would love to hear who you guys are, what you guys thought of our content so far, and you can submit those on the Anchor website. I will put it in the description. So yeah, please do.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Can't wait to hear people's responses. So
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
and leave it, and also leave a review on Apple Podcast. That's it. That's it.
All right, we'd like to thank y'all for listening to this brand new Spider-Man centric episode of the Secret Crisis podcast, and that about ends that. So we will catch you next time. Peace.
Peace out, guys.